Hi, it's 7:30, and this is a meeting of the RTM Parks and Recreation Committee. It is the 3rd of January. We will move right along on the agenda. On the attendance, I believe we're only missing that I haven't heard from Kim Kiner, Tony Lorino, Alyssa Mahoney, and David York. Sue Ellen Mitchell's out of town, and Penny Wilson's out of town. That's 10, and that's a quorum, so we will begin. Pam Geary is our guest this evening to walk us through the Commission's proposed 2024-2025 operating budget and capital improvements and 6-year plan. Now we are going to try to share a screen. If I can remember how to do that.
Oh. As long as you check that box, it should be okay.
Okay. Now.
And okay, first, I just want to acknowledge that you've all got the email, I believe, that I'm moving on, my second part of my journey in my life. And I just can't express my sincere gratitude for all the opportunities that Darien has given me. It has been a pleasure to navigate this group and my commission and this committee, as well as all the residents in town. So I have thoroughly enjoyed working here. So I didn't pursue, but the opportunity placed itself in my lap, and things happen for reasons. So I'm going to finish my career in my hometown. So with that being said, I will, let's see, share my screen. And I need to look for that. It's not giving me what I want. Adele.
Okay, should I hit the?
No, I think I'm just trying to, let me see, what I need to do is get back out of this. I'm gonna minimize my screen, the Zoom screen, and find my file.
Okay.
Del, did you see that Alyssa signed on?
I did.
I
just let her in.
Good.
Thank you.
Of course. Sorry, I won't.
That's okay. I actually was trying to do it so that we could leave it open, but didn't happen. So there you go. Better for Zoom to not do that. So this works well.
Okay. This should work.
It worked.
All right. So what I need to do is see if I can bring this up a little bit bigger. Maybe slide. Let's see. Can you all see all of, oh, let me increase it. This is better for you all?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I can see. Yeah, I can read it. I can read it. Good. I think we're good.
All right. So this, I would be repeating myself for those that have already gone through this budget process. So because my time is limited tonight, I'm hoping that we can get through it in 30 minutes, but I do have an obligation to pick up my daughter. So if there are any further questions, please just go through it, email me. I'd be happy to explain anything that you might not have understood in this meeting. So in this particular slide right now at the top of this sheet is all the proposed revenues. So you're going to see your historical actuals, and then you're going to see the revised in the fiscal year 2024, and you're going to see the proposed fiscal 2025, which is July 1st of 2024 to June 30th of 2025. So in the first line item, beach parking permits, because we settled at 402, just about $403,000 in fiscal 2023. We don't know exactly where we'll settle in fiscal 2024. We came in just slightly above at, and again, this is a guesstimate. This is really based on historical numbers, and we figure that we continue to go up slightly every year. So we figure we'll stay with that trajectory at 405,000. But that's just a little explanation as to why it's 405. And if you can see, one of the bigger changes here would be, say, rent to town hall. That was a decrease in revenue. If you go down just a little bit down the sheet, we had a budgeted item of 32,000, but because there's been a big change in the art center and with all their turnover, they have not been renting the facility as much. Therefore, it was a decrease in 17,000. That's really why that number has dropped significantly. Paddle court revenue, I'll touch on that because that's a decrease as well. As you can look at the historical numbers in 2022, it was 80,700 revenue. Then it dropped slightly in 2023, 74,890. And some of those reasons could be simply that it's weather. You know, a rainy winter and a rainy fall could lead to cancellations and not as much play or snow. And so the reason why the proposal is 95,000 is because of the additional paddle court being scheduled to be built. Because we anticipate that we bring in at least $20,000 per paddle court per year. So some of these numbers, I will alert you, will change slightly because with my departure from my job, the program coordinator, full-time program coordinator that I was trying to propose is being withdrawn because that's my vision. We're going to wait for the new Parks and Recreation director that takes my place to see whether or not that's something that him or her decides that they want to propose. So with that 95,000 we put in there, some of that additional increase was because we felt that the new program coordinator would have added to that revenue with some tournament play and programming. So that's pretty self-explanatory. If anybody has any questions regarding that, maybe the other question, okay, down transfer from new revenue fund seems to be a question every year too. There's no historical number on that. And the reason behind that is because it used to always be put in the budget as it wasn't a net figure. So finally, we had to keep going back to the RTM to get approval for what we thought we might need. So instead of doing that, they wanted to bring back a net revenue. So that's why that looks different. And the reason there's a $20,000 increase is because of the program coordinator position I was proposing. So that will be wiped out to zero until potentially next year. So that's the reason for the revenue. So if you go down now to the budget.
Actually, I have a question before we proceed. It's Andy. You said that the rent at the town hall was because of turnover in the DAC. What's going on? I'm not familiar with that.
Correct. Let me just get my notes on that. Let's see. Let me find my notes on. Let's see. Well, here in my notes, basically it says Art Center decreased usage. So the Art Center paid the town approximately $25,000 each year. And because their usage has decreased, the rent has decreased.
I see. Okay.
So that's why they're trying to kind of reestablish themselves with their new leadership. So I expect that rent will be increased again. It's just that they haven't. It's been a transition year for them.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So I anticipate that will go up because they can't use the building for free, unfortunately.
They what?
They can't use the building for free, unfortunately.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So they're struggling with
Thank
that.
you.
You're welcome. All right. Any other questions before I move on? Okay. So the operating budget is broken up into administration expenses, beach and court facilities, recreation facilities maintenance expenses, organized recreation event expenses, grounds, fields, and building expenses. Those are the categories that we break up all these different line items that make our operations work in terms of our park staff and our park and recreation staff as well, and all the things that we do throughout the year. To make this a little easier, I've highlighted the 4 budget drivers that would be increasing the budget as we see it. And again, I will repeat that highlighted, if you see it all the way to the right in the second column from the right, the full-time salary was increased by 60,000. That 60,000 will be zero. So there will be no increase other than normal cost of living increases, because that was the projected proposed recreation coordinator salary. So that will be back to zero. You go down to the 40,000. That 40,000 is our software ActiveNet, introduced an annual flat fee versus a percentage of fees off our revenues. So in the past, we used to pay a percentage fee every credit card cash transaction, actually it was credit card cash and check transaction went through our system. It cost the town anywhere from 2 to 3% on the amount of revenue that came in. So in essence, we were paying, plus we pay a processing fee. So with all that put together, it was about $130,000 a year. The processing fee won't go away, but this percentage fee being turned into a flat fee, they had offered us, typically we pay about $55,000, but they dropped it to 50. And then of course, I was already looking around for different software companies. So they quickly dropped it another 10 to keep our business. So that's the reason we now are putting it in our operating budget, because of the new annual introduced flat fee. So we actually saved $10,000 there. So that's one of the budget drivers, because it typically wasn't in our budget. It came off of our revenues. And if you go down, I'll go all the way down to the other highlights and then try to hit on some of the other ones. So the $27,000, which is an increase in the groundskeeping services, that is an increase of $27,000 in the beautification funding. So we call it the groundskeeping services, but it was really brought on as wanting to bring in plantings and trees and flowers into our parks. And last year we started with 22, I think it is. And does that work out? Hold on a second. Let me do that math. So last year, no, I can look back here. Last year it was 18,000. We're increasing it by 27,000. So it's a total of 45,000 to spend on beautification in the parks. And the other budget driver would be the facility repair maintenance. And within the facility and repair maintenance, there are a medley of different things that add up to that 146,200. And if you look the year before that, it was 117,200. But once we added the additional 30 or 29,000 that was for invasives. So I'm sure you're all familiar with the invasive removal work that the invasive working group has been doing. And our commission felt strongly that neighboring towns are spending 4 times the amount of money that we budgeted last year, which was $18,000. So actually, it doesn't show it on that. Let me get that correct figure for you for a second. I want to say, let's see. I believe we had $15,000, but let me get that correct number. Materials. Okay, correct. So last year we had $15,000 for invasive removal. The commission wanted to be aggressive and they increased it by 30,000 and to equal 45,000 total. So that's a budget driver there. We're not guaranteed to get that funding, but they wanted to shoot high rather than staying low. So if I just move up here a little bit more, there could be a question on why there was a decrease in security services, that 24,200. And the reason there's a decrease there is because that's where we had our park monitor. And the park monitor was wrapped up in the security service vendor that we used. So last year, we hired the park monitor just out of our operating funds. And we ended up finding somebody that was wonderful. And it came out of our seasonal account. So with this minus 24,200, I then moved that to the seasonal. And if you see in the seasonal, just below that, you'll see an increase. Let me make sure that's the right account. Hold on. Let's see. Yes. Right. So you'll see right here, this 10,450, that increase there is part of this decrease of the 24,000. I added 10,450 to accommodate for a park monitor this summer. So let's see that. Programs, but everything else is just slightly increased or slightly decreased based on historical or, for instance, electricity or potable water has increased. And that could be because we had very little rain and we were using our irrigation systems much more often. So there was an increase there. But other than that, it's pretty self-explanatory unless you have any extra questions for me.
Pam, I just have a question. I just can't remember from past experience. The sailing, why do we list that separately? Because it's run by Darien Junior Sailing, but yet it's under our expenses. So it's one of the only programs that is listed out separately. But the income, so I guess the question is it truly an expense, or is there income coming in that will go against, technically that $4,500, I think it was $4,500. Does the town recoup that $4,500?
No. If anything, the town has agreed to subsidize junior sailing, and that 4,500, it's definitely changed a lot over the years. So you are correct that we used to do all their payroll. And as a result, after finalizing and looking at all the numbers, Kate was really uncomfortable with us doing all their payroll because we had no control over who they hired. So we went back to junior sailing and said, look, you have to get your own, you have to have your own system of doing your own payroll. And we're taking that out of our account, but we'll leave the $4,500 in there because we understand how important the program is to the town and the children to learn to sail. So it just really helps them because it's not a really big money-making program. And they felt very threatened if we were to move that $4,500 because they do really need it.
So we don't really know what they use it for. We know they use it for their expenses, but do they give you a breakdown of what it's a small amount of money. I'm just curious if we get a breakdown of what they're using it for. We
get a report from Darien Junior Sailing. We invite them to the commission meeting every year.
Okay.
And I don't think it's as consistent with the reporting, but we have gotten a reporting in the past to show that it's helping with their expenses.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So other than that, you see how this $60,000 is coming out. So really the only budget driver is $40,000, which is already money that was already taken out of our revenues. It's just looking a little different because it's an annual fee now and it's put back in the budget. And scrolling down, you see the increase of the 27,000, the 29,000. Those are two other budget drivers, and those are the beautification funds and the invasive removal work. And we hope to get that money to continue that work. But other than that, it's basically the same, and or just cost of living increases. If anybody has any other questions, we can, if not, we can move on to capital. Okay, so we'll move on to capital. I have to, let's see, I have to minimize the screen and then go in it that way. Let's see. Not wanting to move here. Hold on, having some trouble adjusting this. Let's see. Okay, stop the share. I'm going to go grab the file. All right, you should be able to see my screen. Everyone got it? All right.
Yes.
All right, so what you'll see in this 6-year capital plan is you're going to see how we've broken up into parks. So Cherry Lawn here, and you'll see some of the projects that were done in the past. And then you're going to see what was appropriated for fiscal 24. And that means what we're working on today. And then you're going to see the funds that were appropriated or we're requesting for fiscal 25. And all the highlighted areas here per park are what we're requesting for fiscal 25. So I will go through them again, not guaranteed to get them. So Cherry Lawn, it's repaved Nature Center driveway. That's coming in at $270,200. And that's something that they desperately need. It's been the last couple of years they have requested this, and it's gotten pushed back. So I think this is something that they're going to show up and really support the town to give to them. Fix the rock foundation along the overflow parking in Cherry Lawn. That's coming in at $86.50. And if you haven't noticed, you can take a ride. You'll see as you go up into the overflow parking, the rock foundation is just crumbling. So don't think that's a very large expense for fixing that up. We have the traffic study for $8,500. I know some approve that and some are opposed to it, but right now it's in the budget, and that's to try to help us figure out traffic flow, entrance and egress from the park. So that is that. Repaired cracks on basketball court. Unfortunately, that basketball court's fairly new, but asphalt is just not warranted these days. So if that had been done in post-tension concrete, most likely we wouldn't be asking for any additional funds because post-tension lasts 25 to 30 years. Asphalt is no longer even warranted, to tell you the truth. So that's $22,000. That will probably last us, hopefully getting it patched for that amount of money, hopefully will last us 3 to 5 years. Additional playground amenities, I did not put that forward. So that will be removed out of there.
So, excuse me, can I
Sure.
ask a question?
Of course.
Cherry Lawn?
Yes.
So the $22,000 for that crack, when was that basketball court built?
I want to say that we redid that in 2019. But Cheryl, I'm guessing right now, so I can definitely get you that information.
So when we built it with the asphalt, there was no warranty on any of this?
No, they will not warranty asphalt. These days it's mixed with too many things, millings, and they no longer do. Vendors will not warranty it.
Okay.
They might warranty it for about a year, that's it. And we got our year. So this will last.
Sarah,
Sorry, I'm
Sarah,
so
are
sorry
you-
if I missed it. So we're just fixing it, right, Pam? And so it
Yes.
probably will happen again in a few years, unless if down the road we do it, the new correct way, which is what you said, the tension, whatever it's called, right?
Post-tension, yeah.
Post tension. Okay, got it.
But
And then can I just ask a,
Sure, go ahead.
so sorry, I know you're short on time. And then for the repaving of the nature center driveway, that just kind of got me thinking, because I know it's also asphalt, and I don't know if for that price, is that the porous asphalt that allows water to kind of go through, and I think is supposed to be longer lasting, but I obviously don't know that for a fact. I just wasn't sure how long is that one going to last us for, because it's obviously it is a chunk of change and it's just going to need it again in however many years. So I just wasn't sure if that was
Okay, so that is a
something.
little bit more complicated, Sarah, because
Okay.
the nature center driveway is taking in account of the drainage, as well as the paving, as well as the curb. So there's a lot
Okay.
more components to that 275,000 than just the paving.
Got it. Okay. That makes
Yep.
sense. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
And,
the
and Pam,
repairing-
quickly,
Go ahead.
does the nature center give any money towards that, or the town is totally responsible for the parking lot?
The town is responsible for the parking lot. The nature center is responsible for the walkways and the center into the building.
Okay.
Yeah, I did question that actually to Kate, because the contract doesn't read really clearly. But when I didn't get an answer on it, it's in the budget. So at this point, it will be Kate's budget once she approves or denies it, and then perhaps maybe they'll do some more fine tooth looking into the contract. But I did want to quickly say, with the repair cracks on the basketball courts, that 22,000 is the filling of the cracks with a netting, then repaving over it, and then repainting. And that's why it's a little bit more expensive, but we didn't want to do the inexpensive one because then we would get cracking right away. So that should last us 3 to 5, hopefully. Okay, so then if I go down to Baker, that's a replacement fence, and that's the fence that goes along the playground on Norotan. It's, if you really take a close look at it, there's holes in the fencing. It really looks very poor. So it'd be nice to get a nice black see-through fence that looks real nice and clean, especially since Baker Park is going to be the next playground that we redo. The next one is Houlihan, replace the backstop, which was a suggestion from the RTM committee members, yourselves. And that is coming in at 36,000. That 36,000 does include the 2 fences on either side of the backstop. Okay. Weed Beach, security cameras at 40,000. Now this 40,000 is also including, hopefully, and I say hopefully because I'm also looking at something else that I'm going to make sure that the new director has for a second quote that may be cheaper than this, because there's a security system that actually attaches to existing light posts. We don't have any light posts at Cherry Lawn, but I spoke with the vendor yesterday, and they fit on the existing lampposts, and they're $4,600 a piece. And they do a lot of analytics, and I think it might even be worth figuring out whether or not we put a light post at Cherry Lawn just so that we can have one of these units, because the analytics could then take away the traffic study. So we're leaving that 40 in there now, but I think a little bit more research has to be done, and we'll give that information to Kate. $20,000 for stripping. We have in our plan to strip and repaint. You take out all the multiple years of layered paint that are on the paddle tennis courts, and each year for the next 4 years, we are stripping one court and redoing it. And then 6 years later, we will do the same thing again, five or 6 years in a row. We did one this past year. Replace the gatehouse. As you have seen, the gatehouse at Weed Beach is in disrepair, and it's old, it's rusting, and we got a stainless quote for $40,000 for that. Finally, we put in the repair tennis wall and court. We have had some people strongly suggest that we do something to fix that wall. People do use the tennis wall and court, and that $135,000, so you know, is post-tension platform. So that should last. Lastly, it's Meadow and Trail project. I suspect that $650,000 will not be in the operating budget. So what's happening with that project right now is that January 9th, next week, we're looking to get our formal approval from P&Z for that project. And then we anticipate we'll be able to get that in the newspaper on January 25th. And then we'd like to schedule a bid opening on February 29th. Yes, leap year. February 29th. And then that would give us the lowest bid. And hopefully if it's within $1 million, then we can use the grant money from Darien Foundation for $350,000 that they generously offered. And then we'd have to go through all the boards, Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, RTM, to get the final approval. So it looks like if we hit all those steps, we get the approvals needed, it's a potential project for August of 2024. So that's that. And
What
then,
is the $650,000 for, Pam?
well, we anticipate the project had a probable cost estimate of $1 million.
Right.
The Darien Foundation has graciously given us a grant for $350,000 if we come within budget. So the $650,000 is added to the $350,000 to make $1 million for the project.
I thought the $1 million was in this year's budget.
No,
We're looking at.
no, we don't have any money for it. We have
Okay.
a probable cost estimate of $1 million that was broken down into detailed estimate. And we won't know until the construction bid goes out. What was in the bid, what was in this year's capital, Cheryl, was the $25,000 construction bid for the project. Yep. So most likely that 650, I doubt it will stay in the operating. They probably will use additional contingency money or something for that, or bond it. So then if we, and I'll mention Pear Tree. Pear Tree's construction project probable cost estimate came in at $6.6 million. So I have been told from Kate to, we're really not moving forward with that right now until there's more discussion on how they want to go forward with it. 6.6 is, I think, a little bit more than they had expected.
That's for what exactly?
It's for raising the parking lot and for dredging, and then installing a new boat ramp.
Was that figure broken down?
That figure was broken.
Dredging, boat ramp, parking lot?
Yes. Yep. So I understand that the boat ramp, I'm not certain that the boat ramp, according to Weston Sampson, whether or not that project can just solely take out the boat ramp and do the boat ramp alone. So again, that's a question moving forward, whether boat ramp can be done without the dredging. So those are questions that will need to be asked. So right now, I had to take that number out, that 6.6 million.
So when will you have some sort of figure to put into this budget from Kate?
I will not.
Okay, so then that figure will go into the budget going from Kate to the Board of Selectmen?
From what I understand, they're not ready to make that decision.
Well, our permit is running out. And if they
Yeah,
push
that's-
it another year,
That is something that I will, yeah, maybe I'll have Lori write to Kate about that.
we only have a 5-year permit, we can get an extension, but that doesn't bode well for the town if we have to, because we're pushing.
Right, I understand.
And there's no other money in Pear Tree at all. No sand, no trees, no nothing.
No, not being
Okay.
proposed for this, yeah.
Okay,
But we have, Cheryl, we do have trees in our budget that can be put at Pear Tree. So just keep that in mind that we do have tree funding.
in that beautification fund?
Yes, and we also have some additional in the tree maintenance fund.
Okay.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right, and then, let's see. Then if we go down to Park and Rec equipment, we have small capital that we have consistently put in 5,000 each year. We have replaced 3 AEDs in our parks and at Town Hall. We have a replace a 550 hook truck at 120,000 and an additional stand-on blower that have proved to be very efficient for our guys to get work done. So
Wait
we
a
have
minute.
2 now and we're looking for a third.
What is an AED?
Is when someone is having a heart issue and you can,
Oh,
tells you how to,
machine.
yep. So we have those placed at the paddle hut, at the concession, and we have one at Town Hall as well. And it's interesting, we may want to have that, or you may want to have that conversation. I'll have that with the commission, but many towns are putting additional AEDs all around their parks because it saves lives and it gives people an opportunity to, they're really easy to use. And so we may look to put a note somewhere that we'd like to add some more in our parks.
Just curious to know, are there instructions on there for the lay person who doesn't know how to
Right.
use one?
No, when you Kim, they're really easy, and it's a little threatening because it's not everybody has the ability to, they're afraid to use them. But if you put the pads, it will tell you, it'll walk you right through it. Once you
Says it on there somewhere.
it will
That's,
speak to you. It will say when you
Oh.
push it, it will tell you, okay, now put this on the left side, put this
that's
on.
cool.
Yeah, it speaks to you,
Great.
and yeah.
Good to know.
No, it's true. You should just do a little research on it. You'll see how easy it is. All right, any other questions on the capital improvement? We have quite a few projects.
Actually, it's Andy. What's a hook truck?
Well, that I'd have to get an explanation for you on the hook truck. That's not my expertise, but that's what our park supervisor says he needs. And it's a replacement. So they have a hook truck and it's old and they just need to replace it. And Andy, I do have we have individual sheets that I have to do for each capital improvement project where it has an explanation on there. So I can get you that explanation of exactly what it is.
Would it be possible to just get a picture of it? Wouldn't require any work,
Of course.
no words, just a picture.
Okay, pictures speak louder than words.
Yeah, then we'd all go, oh yeah, a hook truck.
Yeah. We have a lot of equipment at that parks department, so.
Right.
Anybody else? If not, I thank you for allowing me to give you some of this background on the operating budget and capital improvement. And again, I will miss you all. I'm happy I had the chance to work with you, and a happy new year to everybody.
Well,
Pam,
Pam,
good luck
You,
to
Pam,
you.
good luck.
Yeah,
Good
Kim,
luck, Pam.
thank you. Kim, you just have to look at your email.
I know, I saw it just briefly beforehand. When are you leaving?
January
When-
18th is my last day.
Wow,
Come to
Well-
the commission meeting. I'll be there. I'll see everybody in person.
I will see you there.
All right. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you.
Thank
Happy New Year.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Give me back my screen, Pam.
Uh-oh, did I stop the share? There you go. You got
There
it.
you go. Thank you. We're really going to miss you. We can't thank you enough for everything you've done for us. Nobody could have been more responsive or helpful. Whenever I asked, you always answered. And thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, folks. There's the budget. Honestly. We'll move on our agenda. I don't really think we have much to say. Does anybody have any working groups or committee updates they'd like to give? Okay, Sarah?
Hi, no, can we actually just go back to the budget real quick? I just had a quick question that
Absolutely.
someone
Absolutely.
maybe you can answer.
Go ahead.
So I know that the commission voted back in November on
Mhm.
this, which obviously I appreciate Pam going over all of it because a lot of it we all have questions on, like, what's this? Why that? Why did you choose that? Just the thought process. But didn't we in the last few years get to discuss this before they voted so that you could then go back to the commission with our thoughts
Yes,
on it?
I
Did I
did.
miss
We
it?
did.
Like, did
No,
something
you didn't
change? And
miss
maybe
it.
we discuss, yeah. It just
I
feels like,
think what the response, the answer is that I think Kate Bush has been asking them to push up the process. She wanted it
Okay.
earlier, and last year they just couldn't do it. So they went ahead and voted in December, but really she wanted it earlier. And so I think that's why it happened the way it did. Now, the Parks Tour was so much later this year that, it wasn't as useful. Asking questions in is a great time, but the way when they voted in November, it made it difficult for us. And so I think next year it's important that that our committee meets every month. See, we get caught in November because of the election, but it's important that either the old committee or the new committee, whatever, that we meet in November so that we were able to do what you just said. Because yes, we did talk about it, and then we were able to give our input before they voted. So,
okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't getting confused. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Adele.
no, you're welcome.
Adele, what do you probably sent it to us. I just don't have it at my fingertips. What night is Parks and Rec presenting to the Board of Selectmen? Do you know?
It's the 30th. It's at 5:30 in the afternoon.
Okay. Yep, I knew you sent, I'm pretty sure you sent it to us. I'll remark that calendar. Thank you.
Yeah. So, any more questions on the budget, folks? I mean, Becky, can I do my pitch? Anybody who's interested in being on our budget committee? I think actually the commission and our committee will have our jobs cut out because since Pam's going to be gone as the process moves on. So anyway, I'd love anyone that could join us. Patty couldn't be here tonight. She has she had a death in her extended family, and so she's in the process of trying to get ready to get on a plane as fast as they can to get to Cleveland. So that's why she's not here. Cheryl has volunteered to be on the budget committee. So anybody else who's interested, please let me know. It's good. And of course, the more hands there are, it's nice. You can divvy up the meetings too, but it really helps for someone to be present and listening as it's being discussed, even as it works all the way through the selectmen, because people have questions and sometimes there's not anybody else there to answer them. So it helps. We can go. Any other working groups then? Any working groups that would get, you know, obviously, it's been the holidays and nobody has really met or anything. I did watch today the Great Island Advisory Committee meeting, and most of which I think you know, but I'll just give you a quick update, because once the acquisition for the traffic circle was completed, then they've been talking about maintenance, necessary maintenance on the island. And so I think they finished, you know, pretty much what they needed to do, the initial things, you know, the patching of the roof of the stable and things like that. So the necessary repairs, and they put in a fence around where the pool area is, etc. So they've completed it, and the fall cleanup is complete, and the landscaper has finished, and has finished and has removed his equipment, and the snow removal has been contracted out. So the Public Works is not going to do it. It's contracted out. So the driveway approvals are in progress with the, I think they went before a couple of boards in December, and yet to go to the Architectural Review Board. Question, folks. Kim says her screen is frozen. I don't see anybody else is frozen right away, so I don't think so.
I just got kicked out and then it rebooted for me.
Really? It's a lot of us,
Yeah,
you know,
so
and we aren't even all here. So that's another thing to talk about.
Yeah, it froze and I was frozen for a couple of minutes, so I hope I didn't miss anything important, and then it just like rebooted and then it popped me right back into the meeting again.
Okay, well, maybe it'll do it for her too. I just told her that no, but we'll see. So just going through the Great Island, last meeting for them. So anyway, the driveway approvals are in progress. And then really the biggie, it seems to me, after listening to their discussion, is going to the Architectural Review Board, that they got to have a lot to say about the way that entrance looks, particularly about the lighting, about all of that. So there's an A and a B plan. Okay. I mean, okay.
Hey, Adele, it's Andy. What driveway are you referring to?
I'm talking about the entrance to Great Island.
Oh, okay. Not driveways anywhere else.
No.
The entrance.
I'm talking about this is the Great Island Advisory Committee. So this is the entrance
Yeah,
to
I
Great
understand.
Island. Yeah.
Just
No,
the
that's
entrance
it.
is all we're talking about.
Well, we're talking about the entrance and the driveway. So it'll be from up to the circle. They're gonna, you know, they need to widen it, and they're gonna put in a sidewalk. And
Right.
so they've been talking about it, and and Public Works has been working really hard, you know, on the planning. So there's sort of an option A and an option B as to where you move the pillar and et cetera. And it sort of gives a little bit of flexibility to the Architectural Review Board. I think that's just going to be a collaboration and figure out what they want to do. But that's where that is. There's still the Architectural Review Board. I think the quote was from the meeting was, the Architectural Review Board is very interested in keeping Great Island. You know, they want to. They got the historical perspective there.
Good.
So
Well, I remember we talked about the sidewalk and widening at our meeting in the auditorium last time.
That's right. And because it was interesting, when I watched that meeting, when they did the plans, it had changed. The sidewalk moved from one side to the other, and the whole thing, and a lot of it was tied up in this things that we couldn't talk about. But now all that's gone.
Yes.
And so anyway, we can, you know, we're moving on here. But so since May, $230,000 has been spent on maintenance, and they've taken in $380,000 in revenue. So it's sort of covered its bases there. So their top priority, what they're talking about now, really is the need to hire a master plan consultant, and so to that process, they really need to put together an RFQ. So it's really to evaluate the applicants. The Q stands for qualifications. And so, you know, there's some really, really talented, experienced people on this committee, and the volunteers, you know, they volunteered right up. And so I think they'll be working on that. And then the pedestrian access, of course, they're talking about trying to get people on the island walking. But of course, you need rules. And so the discussion was that they'll base the rules on the park and rec rules, or at least use the park and rec rules as a template, and go from there, and with help from the Coastal Advisory Commission or advice. And some volunteers on the committee stepped forward then to help with that. So, you know, parking was discussed, horses, maybe access only on weekends. It's really to be determined. And they also have a new URL for their website, and they hope to add some historical photos, etc. So they're in process, and their next meeting is in January, and I think I didn't write it down. So it is mid-January, I think, maybe the 17th, if I got that right, if I remember it right. Anyway, sorry. Anybody else have any thing to report? Okay. So next is the chairman's report, which is going to be short too. I hope you guys had a nice Christmas. Everybody and all the other holidays that might have been, and enjoyed your New Year's. And I'm sorry to have brought you back so quickly after New Year's to work. But anyway, here we go. Adele's going on holiday on Monday, so that's the reason why I'm torturing you all this week instead of next week. So forgive me. Just a few updates. I think actually Pam just updated you on the Weed Beach Meadow and Trail, and the construction bid for Pear Tree Beach. The bathroom renovation at Pear Tree, the work has begun. They ripped the stuff out, and I'm not sure what they've put in, but I know I saw them when they were working on changing the Handicap Act doors. And they expect to finish the painting and epoxy the floor in the spring. So that's sort of where that is. I witnessed when the Public Works was filling in the trench, you know, that had rocks in it at the entrance to Pear Tree, where they had to tear it up to put in the irrigation system along the road last summer. So that was nice to see, and it looks really good. You don't even pay attention that it didn't look nice for quite a while. ARPA funded projects. The tennis court received some extra funding from ARPA, approximately $33,000 to bring up the total cost to $218,000. PNC required extra dollars spent because it's in a floodplain, and basically I think the rules of the road have changed, and so they needed special piers, and the way they had to be able to take the heaters out in the sun, you know, so anyway, it cost more, and so good that they were able to get a little bit more money with the ARPA funding, with the money that had been gone into contingency, that had been swept into contingency. The playgrounds, the cherry lawn equipment has been ordered, and the next will be Baker Playground. The 500-gallon water tank will go out to bid in January. The 3 trailers will be ordered by Public Works, and the brush cutter has been received and is being used to remove the invasives. The whirl that's the roundabout, I guess, at McGuan Park, you know, that never worked and it was taped off. It cannot be adjusted, so a new one has been ordered. And then there are just a few highlights from the commission meeting. They finalized the park and rec rules and regulations, which they will further reorganize, I think, over the winter. But the changes are in there now, or at least at this point they should reflect actually what the process is or how things work. They reviewed the annual parks assessment, which identifies where the commission's standards of care are being met and where work needs to be done. And 5 park and rec, 5 of us participated in that, and along with the 9 commission members. So report goes through each park, and the three most priority stated, the top three most priority stated were complete existing projects, maintenance, invasive management, address pickleball demand, manage congestion at Cherry Lawn, and beautification of the parks. So they also reviewed the fee schedule, which they'll vote on in January. And the pickleball working group has been organized. Jim Farrell is leading it, and they will be meeting on January 10th at 3:30 p.m. in room 119. And that's all I have. Is there anybody else that has any other business?
Dale?
I think that's it.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Lisa.
Sorry, I can't find the list. I had missed the meeting where we had kind of established the schedule, the meeting schedule, and I can't seem to find anything in my email. Would you be able to resend?
Okay.
Would you be able to resend that? Just because I can't figure out when the dates of the meetings are to put in my calendar.
Sure, I'll be glad to.
Thank you. I went through everything and I was like, I can't find it anywhere.
Well, hopefully I sent it to you. But it's so far back in the in the emails. Who knows?
Exactly.
And sometimes I send things AOL, and sometimes mostly I send it .gov. I try, but every once in a while AOL will creep in, and that might do it too. So I will do that. I will resend the meeting dates to everybody.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm glad we all seem to get on. What do you think? Do you think?
Did
do
you
think
have
we can
did you
manage
have a
Zoom?
setting?
Should we stay on Zoom? In other words, go ahead.
Adele, did
Kim,
you have a
go ahead.
setting that said you had to, the host had to let you in?
I did, and we
Okay.
tried to disable that. And actually, I tried to share it. I mean, well, I don't have to go into the details, but
You
hopefully for
tried
the
to
next
share
time,
hosting, right?
yes, I did, but it didn't want to share. It simply wanted to replace, and so that didn't help anything. So
Yeah,
anyway,
so
because
the
then I couldn't have shared with Pam. So that's what
One-
happened. So we will try again, and we can do it better. But what do you guys think? Do you think this is manageable, or do you want to meet in person? Let me know what you think. Maybe if you email me, or that's easier. But
I just
anybody
think when
has
they,
something to say, go ahead.
sorry, when they set up the meeting, they just have to uncheck the box that says host needs to let you in. That's a very easy thing to do. That's just when they set up the time and everything on the meeting, they just uncheck that box so that you don't have to
Yeah,
keep
we
looking.
unchecked it, but it didn't stay unchecked.
Hmm.
So that's all I can say.
Oh, okay.
I know, I know.
Okay.
So we'll give that, that's another one of those things that we will see if we can do it. But anybody else have any comments on?
I thought it worked well. How many do we have tonight?
I think we had 11. We started with
11?
10, but I think we got at least one more.
Well, it says we have 12 on here, so.
We have 12. Okay.
There were 14 when Pam was on. Somebody else must have dropped off.
Well, we also had Mike Wheeler left it on his so that he could be, in case I needed help, he was kind of come to my rescue. Bless him. So that he could be, he's one.
It's Carrie. I just wanted to let you guys know that the girls are winning 7-2.
Thanks, Carrie.
Excellent, Carrie.
Which sport? Hockey?
This is hockey. Yeah, girls ice hockey, the high school.
All right.
Carrie, I just want to let you know that my daughter was the first goalie on the girls ice hockey before they were a proper team. So
That's
Carrie,
awesome.
Good
That's
for her.
awesome.
yeah.
Brave one.
She could
My
barely
daughter played
skate, but she
defense.
was a pretty good goalie.
That's
She's great.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's good news. Well, with that, everybody, then I guess we'll stick to Zoom for next month, since I think we can manage it. If we have to tweak it a little bit, but and sorry, Kim, because I stopped looking to see somebody coming in after a while.
All right. And my computer froze, and it was just one of those nights.
Oh, well, you're good. You're adept at this stuff. I thank you. Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, I will see you next month, and I will send out the, when we, at our meeting dates, and we will try it again on Zoom.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jill.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Bye.
Here.
Good night.